So, welcome back to Ghost of the Webway. Today, we are very lucky. We've got Wes from D6 Evolution. Introduce yourself, Wes.
Hey, how's it going?
So, we're very lucky to have him. As I say, we are going to start something that we're hopefully going to see a little bit more often, in which Wes and I are going to discuss new releases, new rules, basically the news of the month and how that affects the Harlequins as a whole. So, big news is ninth edition is coming.
How cool is that?
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, did you watch? Like, did you sit down and watch the actual video?
I was actually teaching at the time. I kind of
No.
I had the stream on silent whilst I was teaching because I had a test to run. So it's like my students didn't really need me to pay attention, except for the fact that I couldn't actually listen because obviously they would have heard. So yeah, I couldn't watch the stream, but I got all the information from yourself and a few other people messaging me with like the lowdown.
Yeah, there's quite a download after. I think people are very excited, especially that video as well, which is amazing.
Oh, yeah, that Necrons versus Marines and Sisters. That was awesome. Really, really good stuff.
It's almost as good as the Dawn of War 2 trailer, I think it was, with the warp spider running, jumping along, and how it
Yeah,
crouches stuff. I just love that. I watched
the
that so
dread,
many times.
the dreadnought grabbing the what was it, the Howling Banshee and all the rest of it. Yeah, that was always definitely a favourite of mine. That one.
Yeah, it's almost as good as that. Not quite, but it's quite special
Yeah,
to watch actually. Yeah, really
yeah.
good.
I thought it was pretty good anyway, and it does mean obviously that we're going to see a little bit more in terms of cinematic stuff. I think this edition will hopefully see more of these kind of videos, and obviously they've got the new series and things coming out. So I think it's an exciting time for the hobby, and
It does seem like they're putting a lot of money into actually developing around the game as well, which is really nice to see.
I think it's such an interesting and unique storyline as well. 40k, and I mean, it's become such a part of popular culture now, and seems to be ever expanding at the moment. So jokes that would have been between you, me, and a few other people are now starting to become a little bit more mainstream. We're seeing it in a lot more memes and a lot more culture, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, don't have to be a closet nerd anymore. It's great.
Yeah, I've always said like being a nerd is the antithesis of apathy. Anyway, I think it's a great thing to be interested and excited about stuff in a time where people are not necessarily the most interested and excited about a lot of things. So after that little ramble, the new rules. We've had a couple of previews. We don't really know that many specifics, but it sounds interesting. What are you thinking so far?
There are a few bits that really, really interest me. The one that really gets me is the way army lists and command points are going to be working. That's the one big change that I wanted from Ninth Edition, and I seem to have got it. I think as Harlequin players, we can be a lot better off now with
Yeah,
starting more CPs anyway.
definitely. I think for maybe Orc and Imperial Guard players, they're kind of going, well, what do I do with my 200 infantry? But we'll see how that kind of continues. But for us, I think it could see a return to that more elite handful of Xenos style that works really, for us is really fluffy for us as well.
I'm not bitter because I've just finished painting an entire brigade of Harlequins, but it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
still working on my one, but that's exactly what I was doing as well. Just putting the brigade together, and now it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to need that, so we'll see.
Yeah, I painted 18 guys with just a pistol and a close combat weapon just to bulk out my units. Probably don't need them anymore, but
No,
they look
no,
cool.
magnetize them.
No,
No,
I
it was
didn't.
not. It's the same here. I'm sort of going like, oh well. At least I'm glad that I was kit bashing mine out of witches, all of my shuriken pistol and blade guys. But I've got a couple of boxes of troops coming in just to be able to re-equip and rearm.
I just call it future proofing. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Who knows what will happen in 10th edition? So yeah, definitely the CP thing seems to be interesting. We'll see how that works. A lot of people are a bit more skeptical about it because they're sort of saying, well, what's the point in troops? I still think troops are going to have a big role just in objective grabbing. In almost every edition, we've had like some rules saying that if your troop holds it versus a tank holds it, you win, basically. So, I think we can still see that and still see the use for troops as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there will be some benefit for infantry over other
Mm,
units because that's just the way Games Workshop work.
mm.
But I'm excited by the opportunity to like build army lists in a different way because I was a bit of a Sam Ham player before Harlequins, and as soon as 8th edition came out, it kind of destroyed my army because I couldn't take jet bikes as my standard units. But it sounds like you can do that now, which is quite cool.
Yeah, there was no more Wind Rider hosts back then, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember seeing that and a lot of crying from a lot of Eldar players.
Yeah,
It's like
they're sat
the
dusty on the shelf about here.
entire army is invalidated.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I can understand that. Still, we've got our jet bikes as well. So, what are you thinking? I'm thinking back up to 18.
Yeah, so I'm tinkering around 12 at the moment, just because I don't want to paint anymore. We discussed this quite at length before we started recording, actually. I just can't paint any more jet bikes, because that's like 3 models for 1 model. It's a lot of hard work.
If anyone has some kind of amazing way of painting Skyweavers faster, please put it in the comments down below because all of us are. I feel like I now with a repaint as well. I just feel like the only thing I ever paint is Skyweave. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, those people who are good with airbrushes in 40k of the Harlequin army, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good place to be. Not with a paintbrush, I mean.
no, that's true. Although contrast paints do seem to speed that up a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's made a big difference to me.
Speaking of that as well, it does look like tanks are getting a bit of a boost, which could make our Skyweavers even more viable than they already are.
Yeah, being able to shoot into combat.
Mm.
That's interesting, isn't it? I'm
Look,
not sure if it's going to be.
I'd be very interested to see how they rule that, really.
Yeah, maybe it's only certain weapons. Maybe there's like defensive weapons. Something like kind of had back in like 4th edition, I think, it was in defensive weapons.
Yeah,
Because I don't
because it
imagine like
was.
a large battle cannon firing defensively.
Yeah, exactly. It's just sort of when you've got the turret that's about a meter above someone's head, apparently firing at a right angle, it might be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay, yeah, so that is going to be an interesting one. Let's see how that goes. But if tanks are back, then we definitely have the tools to deal with them, which is going to be interesting. It's the same with monsters, right? They're now getting the same kind of buffs as tanks.
Yeah, but they said that they're going to be better than tanks, so I imagine there's probably going to be some negative to them shooting into combat. Maybe the monsters don't get the same sort of negatives. I don't know. That could be something that they do.
Yeah, could be
But
interesting. Obviously, we don't really have any access to the monsters unless we take what is it? The Incarnate monster? The Incarnate's a monster, isn't
the
it?
kinds of monsters, yeah.
Yeah, but in at least Mono Codex, we don't really have access to any of that. But we do have the tools to deal with them.
Yeah, with haywire and fusion that we can take a lot of.
Yeah, and I've always been very vocal about the fact that I don't like fusion pistols, but now with CP changing, the way in which army structure is changing, all the rest of it, I think I might change on that one now. I might change my mind on that one.
See, I'm a soaring spike player, and I don't go full fusion, but I like to sprinkle 2 in a squad. That's kind
Yeah,
of like just throughout. So there's a bit everywhere, but not a massive unit that can just get obliterated quite quickly.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. Just two in a unit and my troop masters with them as well, just because hitting on the 2+, you hope to hit. Although I still managed to roll that one exactly when it
Yeah, if
counts.
it's anything like my Archon Invuln rolls, I'm always rolling that one.
Yeah, same here. It's either with the Archon, it's either like the 20th save where you're just going, you know what, you've done your job, or it's the first one.
Yeah.
So it's never in between. It's the most obnoxious rule in 40k, I think. I
So
can't
it's so
see it.
Drakari though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love it. So yeah, good. So army composition is going to change. We're looking at tanks and monsters for the future. What other changes are you looking at? Sort of going like, oh, interesting, or maybe
So
not.
I think
Or,
the biggest one there's two that combo is the fact that you can't stack minuses and pluses anymore. So we can't get -3 or 4 to hit anymore. It's a flat -1, which is something I've always previously used with the -1 to hit and then buffing then to get additional minuses to hit, which is a bit of a knock to us. But I think our gain is the fact that terrain rules are changing, and there's going to be a lot more blocking of line of sight, which I think for us is huge because we pretty much ignore terrain rules anyway. So we can hide behind that and we can sneak our way around the battlefield and ambush people quite quickly. So I think that's going to be a lot better for us.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that is going to be a big thing. The terrain hopefully is going to be able to mitigate some of the damage coming our way, but the fact that we ignore it means that hopefully we can pull off a few nasty little shenanigans. Let's see what happens, I guess, with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited. Sorry, say again.
I'd be very interested to see what they do with it because they're talking about like a lot more, like varied terrain as well, like varied rules for different kinds of terrain, which would be interesting, but for bookkeeping might be a little bit exhausting. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting as well because they are saying that there will be a template, or you can almost like Age of Sigmar, you can say what type of terrain that is. You might have to put some sort of marker down next to it.
Yeah, I think that would work. I'm thinking more for like tournament organizers and everything, that it might be a little difficult for them. But I mean, Games Workshop have said that they want to start creating like more things for competitive in that respect as well, right? They sort of like they want to give you guides as to what kind of terrain and how much terrain and etc. you can use in different scales, right?
Yeah, they seem quite proud of their tournament rule set they've got coming out as well. So that's something I'm really quite interested to see how they're going with that. They seem quite confident that there won't be any requirement for separate ITC rules and over open rules, etc. So I'm really excited to see what they've done there.
Yeah, I'd like to see that as well, just because it's always been interesting, the tournaments as well, hasn't it? Because you've got so many different standards and so many different ideas. We've got the ITC, we have the ETC, we have now got the new one that's sort of come out from the ETC. Then you also have there's the German system as well, in which like you can only use like one of each unit or something.
Oh, really?
Highlander, I think it's called. It's a much smaller game. It's like 1,200 points or something. But it'd be nice to see kind of a bit more of a standard, so that we can really just basically have everyone playing the same game.
Yeah. In fact, you touched on their points. They did mention as well that points are going to be changing as well for most units because it's the rebalancing for the new edition. So I think we might see some points increases in some places.
Absolutely agreed. I think we're not going to be able to get away with that one so easily, and no one is. I think everyone's going to have some increases. They're going to sort of look a little bit at maybe even future-proofing stuff a little bit. So if instead of having to FAQ everything the moment that everything comes out, I imagine the reason for the rebalance is with the idea of the codexes in mind, or what could happen to the unit later. But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, because we've just had quite large points drops from the past chapter approved as well, which was quite nice. So I hope we don't get too many points increases.
Yeah, true. Although again, like in terms of the fluff of what we do, it would be nice if our elite Harlequin troops felt like elite Harlequin troops as well. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're just spamming like multiple troops, it kind of feels a little bit. If you got like 72 Harlequins running around the place, like I know that some people are doing, it doesn't have that same feeling to it. So it'd be nice to have that kind of fluff back of, almost elite strike teams equipped with lots of different weaponry and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd really like that actually. In fact, I was chatting to my buddy about that the other day, just saying that it's great having all these points drops, but in some ways I'd sooner keep the points the same but make the units better, because I don't necessarily want lots of Harlequins, because it doesn't really fit with my idea of what the backstory is for them. So
yeah, and it's a lot of painting. So there's a lot of difficult paintings. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely agree with that one. I think that was when even that chapter approved came out. I was excited because the points dropped in some ways, because it kind of rebalanced us for the rest of the game. But in other ways, I did look at it. I was just like, change our stats. Make our stats better. That would be better.
Yeah, I totally agree.
With the capped modifiers, though, yes, it does look like a big one for us. But so far they've only mentioned it in terms of to hit, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
because
we can stack
it's
the wounds, can't we? So that's.
yeah. I was thinking more about things like the leadership debuffs because
Oh
obviously
yeah.
we have that naturally inbuilt -2 to the leadership, so I don't imagine that they will change leadership modifiers in that respect. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting one actually.
Mm,
Yeah, I have to go back and listen to that one a bit more. Yeah,
yeah.
'cause it said that capped modifiers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, which is the worry, and that's why a lot of people have been kind of back and forth on this one. I've seen in the forums and everything. Some people are like, "Well, what's going to happen to the Shrieker profile and everything on the Death Jester? Because that's naturally -2, and there are other modifiers like in the Psychic Awakening as well, and not just our one, but other ones as well that are demonstrating that we have, the ability to go past that -1. So maybe it's just a hit, maybe just a hit into wounds. Who knows? We can see, couldn't we?
Yeah, I imagine it's the to hit stuff because that's the obnoxious stuff. Was it? Is the Latok flyers spam at -4 to hit or whatever it was?
Yeah,
That's what people are upset about. That was breaking the game.
yeah.
I don't think there are many instances of minuses to morale breaking the game too much, really. So
No, well, I mean, the problem with it is just there were too many. As they said themselves, there were too many ways of it either being all or nothing.
yeah,
Um, so, if you've got a unit of 5, then morale really doesn't matter. If you've got a large squad, then you give them the rule that says that morale doesn't matter.
yeah,
It just never really came into play. But that has seemingly been a problem for pretty much every edition, from what I can remember. It certainly was in 6th edition and 7th edition that morale just didn't seem to really play that big a part.
yeah,
I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just remember playing through and sort of being like, yeah, I can justify, you almost forget about it because you're like, well, it's not going to happen anyway.
yeah. Morale's really been one of those parts of the game I don't think they've ever really quite got right.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this time, I mean,
But
they haven't told us any of the details, but hopefully this time they'll get
they
this one
have
right.
said that it's splitting though, haven't they? The morale stuff is splitting into 2 parts. I can't quite remember what they said for that, but oh yes, it's gonna be combat attrition. It's gonna be one part of that.
Hmm.
I don't. They don't really give much detail apart from that it is breaking down to 2 parts now. So
Yeah, yeah, I mean, they haven't told us very much. It's very difficult to kind of guess at what they might be thinking. But I mean, I think purely the fact that they're bringing out these Primaris Marines who are more focused on melee will hopefully mean that melee will have a bigger part in the game, which can only be a good thing for us.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And we kill Marines pretty well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're not bad at doing that. The problem is when they shoot back at us. That's the worry.
So actually talking about shooting, Overwatch they did mention is being toned down.
Yeah. I wonder how, though. It's an interesting one. How are they going to tone it down? Because at the moment you hit on 6s.
Yeah,
There, there are armies that can buff that, Tau being the worst example of that. So how exactly? Is it going to be something like the distance away? Like if you charge within a certain distance, they don't fire Overwatch? Or,
yeah.
it'd be interesting to see.
They've been really cheeky actually. They left lots of question marks here about how things are actually going to work.
Yeah.
Be nice to start getting a bit more detail the next few weeks. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That would be. It would be good if they weekly gave us at least. I know they like to hype their things up over time, and so if they give us a little bit of a weekly update, that would be really good.
But any bonuses to any drop in Overwatch is a bonus to us. So
Yeah,
I'll take that one.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that was part of the reason why I was thinking for my brigade of almost considering Silent Shroud was to have 3 possibilities of denying Overwatch. That was actually going to be a big part of that army. Was just to lock down that shooting because it can be absolutely deadly to us.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing that one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah. Let's hope with that one. I mean, a couple of things stayed the same. Mortal wounds stayed the same, which again, for us, not a bad idea. We do seem to have access to quite a lot of mortal wounds in terms of haywire and psychic abilities and a few other things. So that, that could be good. Um,
Reserve mechanics.
mm,
That
yeah,
sounds really interesting, actually. So it
yeah.
seems a sort of phased process that you can put guys that don't have deep strike into
Mm.
reserve, and later turns they come from the sides, and then maybe from the back later on in their turn. So that could be
Yeah,
quite
I keep
interesting.
hearing things about this, but I'm reserving a bit of judgment on that one just because I'm like, okay, so could be useful, could be very useful, but then how is that going to work within the game mechanics, if you know what I mean? Having some late troops or something coming in to take objectives though would be pretty good, I imagine.
Yeah, it's just a squad of troops. A troop
Mm.
squad just that can come in, like turn 3, turn 4, back lines, steal objectives, cause harassment. Yeah, that'd be pretty neat, actually.
Yeah, definitely. So thinking as well on the idea that we're all getting new codexes, which would be pretty interesting. I imagine ours is going to be quite far off, but what would you hope to see in terms of like a ninth edition Harlequin's Codex?
I'd like to see some new models. A new
Just
Harlequin model we
we
can
all,
take in a Harlequin army.
yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Quite
Yeah.
honestly, I think the base rules for the Harlequins are actually pretty solid. I think they've probably felt more like Harlequins than they have in quite a few editions.
Mm.
I think the rules we got recently have really made the army a lot better and a bit more thematic. So I'd just like to
Yeah.
see some more theme type rules that they've come out with recently, actually,
Mm.
and maybe get rid of some of the not so useful stratagems in our book, such as the webway portal stuff, which is pretty much a waste of stratagems in our book, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh,
at the moment, it hasn't been amazingly useful. They did say though terrain rules, so maybe the webway gate itself is going to become more useful. We never
yeah,
know. If they make it a little bit more AOS style in terms of actually giving sort of bonuses and allowing them to be part of detachments or something, that it could actually have a benefit to us as a model. But for now, yeah, it's pretty useless.
yeah.
So let's see.
I'd like to see the Void Weavers get a bit of a buff, actually,
Yeah,
which
damage
sounds like
output.
which sounds there might be a chance for that with the bonuses to blast weapons against hordes. So hopefully, the Void Weavers blast weapons may get a bonus towards that.
Be nice if at least the prismatic cannon, just to give us some reason to take it. You see what I mean? Like, and the points drop was nice, and it does have a lot of variety. Like, you can do lots of different things with it, but it just, as we said, like the damage output on it, it just isn't enough to make it a gunboat that has, you know, more effectiveness than five guys with, some fusion pistols in a Star Weaver. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for now, it's usually just been a kind of a if you want to build a brigade, you take Void Weavers, and otherwise you don't. That's pretty much it.
What changes would you like to see?
I want to see a redress of the weapons. Actually, our equipment, the Neuro Disruptor, for example, I'd like it to be more individual.
Okay.
Um, at the moment, it feels like a weak fusion pistol.
It doesn't
And
really have any flavour to it, really, does it?
no, it's just yeah. I think it's very boring actually as a weapon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a clear difference. Like keep the fusion pistol basically the same as it is because it works very well and you can understand why people do it. Make the neuro disruptor the anti-infantry thing that it should be and the way in which they sort of describe it. Um, I've often thought something like almost swapping the shot output and the damage would be better. Doing one damage potentially with mortal wounds on top, but making it a pistol D3
Yeah.
just to have that kind of horde clearance roll
Yeah.
with the causing mortal wounds on sixes or something would be quite nice.
Just making it a bit more esoteric, like the grenade launchers on the back of the Shadow Seer.
Yeah,
That's a really neat rule. Just
yeah,
something a little bit more esoteric like that, I guess.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
just fun and weird. Yeah.
Because I think back in the previous edition, it wounded on a 2 against infantry or something, didn't it, to represent
Yeah.
how good it was against infantry. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think there's definitely a bit more flavour in that one.
Yeah, I think that sort of thing, like maybe even just pretty much putting it back to what it was, might even actually be enough. Just demonstrating what it can do in some interesting way would be really really good, rather than it being what it is now. But the same, I think, with things like the kiss versus caress versus embrace. Caresses, mathematically are considered significantly better than anything else. But the kiss is just the iconic Harlequin's weapon. I couldn't build a Harlequin's army without putting Harlequin kisses in there, and I'd like to see them maybe demonstrated as being that kind of horrific weapon that they actually are. Um, that'd be good. And the embrace so far, it's seen as just the cheaper option, but it hasn't really seen a huge amount of play.
Yeah, they could. I thought they did those quite well actually in 7th edition. I think when the
Mm.
book came out, because it was instant death on the 6, wasn't it, with a Harlequin's kiss,
Oh, yeah.
which
Okay.
was
I can't remember that necessarily, because I didn't play Harlequins during seventh. I was playing
oh
Lendracari,
no.
but I did. I saw a little bit of the Codex and things, but my memory is not, I'm afraid, that good. So yes, I'm not sure, but that sounds more like the kind of thing that they're supposed to be able to do. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, the monofilams right inside there whipping around,
Yeah.
going
I
up
mean,
people's insides.
if you get wounded by this thing, that should be inside soup. So.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it just needs a little bit of a boost. I think I like them anyway. With the current rules, I do think they have a place, but the caress at the moment is the absolute clear king, and it would be nice to get a little bit of a rebalance between those weapons as well.
Yeah, I agree actually. Even if it's a boost in AP or on a 6 to wound, it does have a flat 3 damage rather than having to roll a d3 or something like that. I do.
Yeah, that would be good. Just it doesn't need much, I don't think. It just needs that little bit of something, because the strength 5 minus 2 is significantly better than strength 4 minus 1, even with the d3 damage, right? It's just being able to get through and actually cause those wounds tend to be a big problem.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to see changed?
So Void Weaver's weapons, I'm not sure. I think otherwise I'm actually quite happy post Psychic Awakening with the way our characters work. I
Yep.
think they work in a very interesting, unique way within the storyline, and was really, really happy when I saw those. I'd hope that the same writer works on our next codex. That would be
That'd be
great,
the
because
dream.
I think he has a good understanding of our lore and the way in which we are supposed to play in some ways, and made a lot of flavorful, interesting rules to suit our playstyle in some ways.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, it made it a lot more exciting for the book. That's for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And
If I
I
did,
mean, this is pure wish listing and that kind of thing, but honestly, with GW's love of massive, great models and the way in which the storyline is supposed to be going forward, I just want Kagorak on the table. I'm just going to
yeah.
put it out there. I want Kagorak as a big, crazy thespian clown model on the tabletop.
So I'd really like a great Harlequin model,
Mm,
and you have to take 2 CP points to make a model.
yeah,
Just have them as a character you can buy,
yeah.
and or maybe you get them the free upgrade if you take a battle forged army that's purely Harlequins or something. That'd be quite cool.
That would be cool, yeah. I mean, I think it would be very interesting. 'Cause there was like right back in the Rogue Trader days, was it? There was like sort of an avatar of something as well. You had the Great Harlequins, you had a couple of other weird characters from what I remember. Sort of delving back before my time, really. But I think I've seen a list of like some of the experimental codexes for the Harlequins, and we had quite a few options actually there. Whilst now it's been quite minimal, so just even bringing back some of the older stuff might be enough.
Yeah, it's definitely the thing to do, like mimes and stuff as well.
Uh,
Yeah,
mimes would be
that'd
so good.
be
I
so
want
cool.
my infiltrating mimes, basically. Stealth weaponry, and
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
so cool. But yeah, okay. Well, let's hope we can only wait and see. I imagine for the Codex, we're going to be waiting for quite some time. So not sure how that's going to go, but we're probably not going to be one of the first.
No, but we've got correct rules, and I think my gut feeling is ninth edition is going to be quite good for us. I'm very hopeful, especially with, like I said, the new Psychic Awakening rules we've got as well, which were designed with the new rules in mind as well. So
Yeah, definitely. I think we're in a good place now. It's starting to look like I'm not saying we're going to be top tier, but I'd say we certainly have the tools to deal with what it looks like is coming.
yeah, and I think one other thing that's quite interesting as well is the CP to buy soup detachments.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a case now of going pure in an army to save those CPs.
Well, I mean, I've been doing it anyway. You know, I understand why people soup. It's obviously very clear the reasons for it in competitive play because you can kind of, you can find the weaknesses in your own codex and you can find the strengths to mitigate those in others. But I can't do it. I play my Drakari pure, I play my Harlequins pure. It's just I'm never the twain shall meet.
I really struggle too. I just can't do it.
Yeah, just I'm not. I won't do it. Even like I've seen like beautiful paint jobs on things like Crimson Hunter Exarchs with Motley and all the rest of it. Looks stunning. I completely understand. You've themed it all really, really nicely. I just don't want to do it. I still don't want to do it.
No.
I like our Codex as it is.
So on a similar theme, actually, one thing they did announce is the Crusade narrative element to the new edition,
Yeah.
which I quite like the sound of that, actually. Like, I think maybe
Yeah.
being a Harlequin player, you're probably a bit more interested in the narrative side of things anyway. So the idea of having your army and see it develop and get bonuses when you're fighting your campaign.
Definitely. I think that's going to lead to some really, really fun, fluffy games, tournaments, leagues, etc., like in different stores all over the place. I'm hoping they're going to, implement it and give it a go in my local store as well, because I want to give that a go.
Yeah, and it sounds like you could just do it by yourself as well. Just every game you play as well, you can log in your campaign.
Yeah, which I definitely will be doing because I love adding all that fluff and all the rest of it. As some of you guys probably know, I always try to create my own fluff behind the army, and be nice to see their trials and tribulations and their successes and map that out a bit.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Really excited for that bit.
That'd be fun. I think narrative gaming is it hasn't been what I've been as focused on in the channel, but I think it is something that I really enjoy doing as well, like creating that theme and those campaigns for people.
Yeah, I don't think things are mutually exclusive. I've played quite competitively, but I always try to play with like a narrative in my mind when I'm playing competitively too. Like when I'm building my lists, I build what's probably say like an 80% core of a narrative theme, and then like 20% of it is just to top it up to make it a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, same here, I think, definitely.
So hopefully it will just gives us a slightly different avenue rather than playing competitive all the time as well. Should be nice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact that if we're playing mono Codex Harlequins, we're not exactly, we're not exactly, win at all costs players.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's funny that. But yes, definitely, I think they have so much theme and so much flavor as well, and just being able to like trying to look at the different ways in which you want to do it, whether or not you've built your own mask or whether or not you really focus on like the idea of one of the masks available in the Codex. I think as an army they have so much character, even with the very few units that we currently have access to.
Yeah, and when I play them as well and it's going well, it does feel like you are directing a narrative when you're playing it as well, because you've got to get all the little tricks off in order to make the army work effectively. And in doing so, you're playing to the theme of the army anyway, which is like it's just a bonus for playing Harlequins, I guess.
Well, yes, there's that, and praying to Kagorak for decent dice rolls.
Yeah, it is the army of the coin toss, isn't it? It's always 50-50.
Absolutely, yeah. And he sometimes has abandoned me in ways that I don't know what I've done to anger him, but he just completely abandons me sometimes.
I've had at least 3 games with my opponent that's offered me their dice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I had it at the tournament, the big tournament that I did at the Winter Warfare. My opponent, after 3 turns, was like, "You just please put those in the bin and just buy another set." I
Yeah.
was like, "This is the second set. I don't know what it is." But yeah. Right, Wes. Thank you very much for coming on. Did you have any last things to mention about the new edition or any of your hopes for the future so far?
Well, thanks for having me on. I think the thing I'm just really looking forward to is just seeing how Harlequin's faring. I'm really optimistic about it because I think with the changes to line of sight, that's going to be a really big one to us, especially with then they're talking about making Overwatch worse. I think that I think we're in a very good place going to Ninth Edition more so than we were coming out of Eighth.
Yeah, definitely, particularly if people start bringing their massive tank battalions
Yes.
because they think tanks are strong, and then you go, yeah, but I have 21 haywire cannons and a bunch of fusion pistols. It's could be interesting for us on the competitive side of things as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Wes. So we are going to try and do this a little bit more often with Wes and also with other Harlequins players around. I really want sort of once a month just to give you guys a bit of extra news, look a little bit at what's going on in the hobby and how that relates to the Harlequins. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. This has been Kit. This has been Wes.
See you again.
And see you again. Bye for now.